Hey guys, it's Bia here. So today we're back with another video, and I actually have not made these kind of videos in a very long time. Today we're going to be doing a sleeve tutorial, and this is a type of sleeve that we're going to be making. Now, as you can see, the examples show a very puffy sleeve, very large sleeve, very dramatic sleeve, and that's what we're going to be doing today. So what I would do is I would probably make a sleeve that is quite large, and then at the top here it would be a bit tighter just to give it a bit more contrast. Now, if you have not watched my other videos, you're very welcome to watch my other sleeve videos. Link will be in the description and in the cards if you are interested in making any other sleeve. And yeah, that is pretty much it. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like in this video, and comment down below if you have any other suggestions for us to do. Now, to get started with the sleeve, I'm first going to explain the concept of the sleeve and how we're going to do this, just so you can kind of imagine it with me as I'm doing it and you can understand it a little bit better. Okay, so if we start with the basic sleeve pattern, let's just say the pattern looks a bit like this. Now I'm sketching this very loosely. Let's just say this is our pattern, okay? What we're going to do to it is we're actually going to spread it and we're going to open it out. Now, it depends on how big you want the sleeve to be and where you want the puffiness to be. If you want the sleeve to be just puffy at the top, then, for example, something a bit like this, then you would not need the full sleeve. If you wanted it just to be like that, as you can see here. If you want it to be a full-on big sleeve all the way to the bottom, which probably wouldn't stand up like that if you don't have anything to hold it up, it would probably just droop and then it would just be puffy at the bottom, then you would need to do the whole sleeve from top to bottom. And then you can have other options when you kind of merge this with a different type of sleeve, where you have half of it like this, and then half of it would be perhaps with just a full sleeve up to your wrist. So it's up to you how you want it to be. You can even do something a bit like that, something that can kind of come off like that. It's up to you, but the concept is the same. The only thing that changes is where you start and stop it and how much you go down from here. Don't forget, at this point here is the point of your armhole. So this whole part connects to your bodice, and from here onwards is the actual arm itself. So if you, for example, if you think about it, this is your shoulder, a bit of your arm, and then here this is for like your whole shoulder part, and then from here on it's your arm. So if I just show you here at the bottom, what would happen to that is we would cut it into pieces. So we're gonna slit it like that, and then through the middle, and we're gonna separate them from each other. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna spread them out. So let's just say we cut the top two parts. I'm gonna keep them like this, like that. This is for a very, very exaggerated one, and it's gonna take up a lot of fabric, by the way. And then this is probably the other two bits. And then what you would do is you would actually connect them here. And at the bottom, what I would probably do, and what we're going to have to do, is we're going to have to add a little bit of cuff. Now, it wouldn't be that big. It would probably be this much fabric for this much, which means that everything here would have to ruffle up to that point. So this is the basic concept on making a sleeve like this, and that is pretty much it. So let's move on to the next part. What you're going to need is a pattern master, like I always say. Another thing is a long ruler, if you have one. This is a 1 meter ruler. Next part would be obviously your fabric of choice. Also, don't forget, the fabric you choose will change how the outcome of the sleeve will be. So how shiny it's going to be, how much is going to drop, how stiff it's going to be. So if you're using a very stiff fabric, then it's probably going to be volume from the top to the bottom rather than being a droopy sleeve. And if it's going to be something very thin, you need to be thinking about whether you're gonna see layers and gathers and how that's gonna play out. This is something you can experiment with, but I'm just giving you guys heads up. So this is what I'm gonna be using. This is a viscose fabric. I have plenty of this. What you're going to be needing. Mine is very old and I have abused it quite a lot. I do admit I need to copy it and make it again. So you're going to need your sleeve, and you're also going to be needing your bodies, so your front and your back. Now for this sleeve today, I'm not going to be changing anything here, so I won't be adjusting anything in terms of the size of the bodice to the sleeve, so that we don't have a very long video, and obviously that's not part of it. From what I remember, this will still fit me, so I'll still be able to use it for the sake of the video and the sake of demonstration. But if you guys are doing it for yourselves or for someone else, also obviously make sure that this here is the size that you want it, but it won't really matter that much considering that we are going to be gathering the armhole part of the sleeve when we're sewing it together, so they don't have to match in lengths. Okay, so these are the next parts you're going to need, and lastly you're going to need the paper. Now I have two options. One option is this paper that you guys have seen me use before. This is what I got from Amazon, and what I realized is it's actually very thin and very flimsy, so this is more for when you're doing experiments. Now because today I already kind of know what I'm going to do, I'm actually not going to use this. One, because it's more expensive than the other option, and two, because I would rather use this for experiments when I am doing other pieces that are more complicated. So what I'm going to use is my little hack, which is the IKEA paper. Now this paper roll is actually made for a kids table that IKEA sells, and it's really cheap. I'm pretty sure it's like £5 or something. So it's actually for someone, if someone doesn't have as much to invest into making their designs, I would suggest buying this first, and then later if you want to buy the other one, it's better. The only downside of this is that obviously the length is less, so if you are making something bigger, you will have to tape the two parts together, because I'm pretty sure the other one is 1 meter in length, and I think this might be half of that. Yeah, this is basically 50 centimeters. So if you guys are going to make something big, consider what you prefer. Obviously this is cheaper than the other one, and you can always choose whatever you want to do. Right, so let's begin the actual tutorial. So first of all, I'm just going to open up the paper, and I'm going to measure how tall roughly is the sleeve, just a basic sleeve. And I'm going to actually cut two of these. So one, I'm also giving it a bit of extra height simply because we also need to eventually do the seams and everything, so we're going to give it an extra bit of space, and I'm going to double it up because this sleeve is actually really big, and it takes up a oh my god, sorry I'm sorry anyways, this sleeve takes up a lot of fabric, and that's why I'm doing it with double of the paper, because I'm going to actually tape these two pieces of paper together, which is why I said to you guys before, if you want to go the cheap route, you're going to work slightly harder simply because the paper is not as big. But to be honest, I like this paper more because it's slightly firmer and the other one's very flimsy. So you know, IKEA forever. Anyways, so first thing I'm doing is I'm noting down the height at the top, and then of course at the bottom, because the sleeve is actually not cut on a full like straight line, it's kind of wavy. We're gonna just leave that, and we're gonna just roughly put it all the way to the bottom. And then I'm just measuring how far away is it going to go, because I'm essentially going to open up the sleeve how we said on the picture. So I'm just essentially trying to see how the curves go, how they kind of look like. And then I also divided the paper into 4 equal sections. I am doing a very bad oh my god, I can't speak. Very bad demonstration of how it's supposed to look like, so I'm just going to show you guys again how you're supposed to do it. So as you can see on the sleeve, it kind of does that wavy thing. So what I'm going to do, now that I kind of know roughly how far away things are from each other, I'm just kind of
winging it. To be honest, with this type of sleeve, you don't need to be super precise because the whole thing is going to be gathered anyways. So it's just about creating that volume and doing it right. So the bottom of the sleeve is just a big kind of, how can I say, is it a circle? It's not a circle, it's just like kind of round, so it's not completely square. And then on the sides it's completely straight, and then at the top you kind of have that wavy thing as we had before with the basic sleeve. It's just as though you have stretched it. I am doing this without any measurements because I believe you don't need to. Other people on YouTube have done similar videos explaining how to do this type of sleeve, and they have a lot of measurements, and I think that's just going to confuse you. So I would say just, you know, oh, actually, I did do some measurements. Basically, I was just checking how many centimeters that was at the top, and then how many centimeters it is at the bottom, so you guys can see what I've done. So the top was 30, I'm pretty sure 30 centimeters, and the bottom was 44. So you guys can see, if you're going to repeat the same thing I'm doing, exactly how I did it, you can see kind of the measurements of my sleeve, so you guys can see how much gathering you're going to make for your own sleeve. So the top 30, the bottom 44. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it over so that we can have a perfectly symmetrical sleeve. I'm going to pin everything together so that the paper stops moving, because low-key this annoys me so much that the paper keeps doing that every single time I'm doing pattern making, which is why I don't make as many videos as I should of this, because simply the paper is annoying. But anyways, so I'm just going to cut it all up, and as you guys can see, I have not even written down the seams yet, but I'm actually going to go inwards. Also, don't forget to do your notches. So the reason why I'm doing my notches is that when I am lining things up in the sewing part of the process, I can actually equally split them up from each other, so they don't have to, you know, you don't have to get, it can confuse you, it cannot confuse. I feel like it won't confuse you. So what you're going to eventually do is the notches at the top and at the sleeve, they're going to match up with the other parts of the patterns that you've created. So this is actually something I've pre-made, which is my hand cuff. It's not hand cuff, my cuffs basically. This is done to my size, to what I've measured. But here is the calculation of how to do it yourself. So measure your waist, and then you have to add a few centimeters extra. So I did the calculation, but I can't even see it whilst recording my voice, so you guys saw what I said there. I'm pretty sure all you do, you measure your wrist, you add a few centimeters extra, just so that you can actually move it around, it is not too tight. And also I did my cuff 5 centimeters thick, so if you guys want to do it thicker or skinnier, that's up to you, but make sure you always add the 1 centimeter all the way around after the 5 centimeters, because don't forget, these are going to fold in, and when you sew everything together, it's going to just all be taken away. So actually what you're going to have in the end is what's inside of that outline. So here I'm just splitting it into 4 sections. Reason being is because I'm going to put the notches. Remember how we put the notches in the sleeve? We're going to put the notches in the cuff, so that when we're sewing later, we can match them up and make sure everything is equally spread out, so you don't have a lot of gathering on one side and not as much on the other side. Okay? So I'm not doing anything, as I said, to the actual body. I am just going to cut it as it is, and then if it's too big, too small on my neck, I will just cut it bigger. And honestly, for this thing specifically, I'm making it slightly longer because I actually want to wear this, and I might do other things with this later on. So I'm doing it for the sake of designing, but the sake of this video is just a sleeve, just for aesthetics purpose. So I'm doing something very wrong here, which is I'm going to cut without ironing the fabric. Now, I suggest always cutting whilst after you iron. Reason being is because it actually makes it easier for you to see the lines that you've done, to make sure everything is actually 100% the size that you wanted it to be. That is specifically very important when you're doing things which are very like centimeter specific. So 1 centimeter makes a lot of difference, especially things that are tight on the body and like made to measure, because this is very big and you know, not very specific, and it doesn't really matter that much. I am literally just going to do it without ironing, but that's a bad practice. Don't follow what I'm doing, just follow what I say. So now I'm just cutting the notches that I mentioned before, so that when I'm sewing I can match them up. This is both of the sleeves. Now I'm actually ironing. Well done, Bia. So make sure at least before you sew, you iron everything, because it makes it much better. Please iron at least once. Please, please, I'm begging you. So ironing actually makes a lot of difference when you're sewing. Okay. Anyways, so the first thing I'm going to do is put my machine on a larger stitch, like 5. And then what I'm going to do is just stitch a straight line about 0.5 centimeters from the edge, and I'm going to pull one of the strings so that we can create the gathering effect. Now at this point I don't know how much I need to gather, but I'm just doing it so you guys can see the purpose of the video, like for the purpose of the demonstration. I'm going to do on both top and bottom of the sleeve, so at the cuff and at the shoulder, so that we can gather it in both places, so that we can create the effect we're going for. So after you do this to both of them, make sure you kind of you know which one is the top and which one is the bottom. It's kind of, you can kind of tell when is the top, that because there's a bit of a bump, and that the bottom is completely flat. Next thing you're going to do is put it back to a small stitch, and you're going to basically sew together your little pieces for your body. So this is at the shoulders, and so that we can attach the sleeves to it. Then I'm going to do just to attach on the side seams of the body, so that we can prepare everything for the sleeves to go in. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, I don't know why I'm zooming in on the camera there, but anyways, next thing we're going to do here is we're going to actually put the sleeve into the body. So keeping the body part inside out, and then putting the sleeve inside of that hole, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So inserting into the hole and then pinning it around the armhole, so that you can and then you can adjust it, you can spread it out. I usually put pins just to hold things together, or else I really struggle to sew everything. Make sure that everything kind of lines up, stretches evenly and everything, so that when you see the final result, everything looks very even and evenly spaced out, especially when you see all the pleating that happens after you sew this together. So just make sure everything is kind of, you know, evenly spaced and it looks all right. So after you do this, you pin everything. What you're going to do is you're just going to put it all down, and you're going to start sewing. Don't forget, your body has to be inside out. You're going to sew the body inside out. Okay, so let's just do this. You're going to sew the whole thing together. Make sure to catch both sides, both the inside and the top and bottom layers, so that you don't, you don't miss anything out. And then what you're going to do afterwards is you're going to go from the armhole, you're going to sew the rest of your sleeve about I would say 10 centimeters or 15 centimeters from the edge. Reason being, I think I did 15 or 14. Okay, reason being is because we're going to have to fold it so that we can create that opening on the sleeve, because this is not being done with any sort of elastic band at your wrist. You won't be able to actually put your hand through if the hole is too small. So that's the reason why we're doing this kind of slit on the side, so that you can put your hand through, and then later on with the cuff you have a little button and you close it up and it looks cute. So now what I'm doing is I'm actually doing the bit of the cuff. So I'm going about 1 centimeter away from the edge, as I said before when we're doing the other part of the pattern cutting. So continuing, I'm just going to do this on both sides, and then I'm going to fold it over. This is just an example of how I kind of done this before with a different sleeve with a different size, but the cuff is the same principle. Another thing I suggest to you guys, you have two options here. One, you can make the cuff with or without the interlining, without something inside to make it a bit firmer and a bit thicker. I do suggest putting some interlining inside, because it makes it much more stable, but it's up to you guys. I'm literally doing this just to show you how this is done. If you're going to do interlining, make sure you only cut it to the actual size of the cuff, not with the extra centimeter on the edge, because that'll add a lot of bulkiness on the edges when you're folding it inside out like I've just done. Always, I also use a pin on the edges just to make sure that they're nice and sharp and square. Okay, next stage is for us to do a little bit of an edge stitch so that the cuff is a bit more stabilized, it doesn't fold over, and it looks slightly nicer, because those small details are what will add, you know, that extra, how do you even say that, just extra detail. Makes it look fancier, makes it look nicer, makes it look proper, doesn't look floppy, you know. So that's what we're doing here. And when you do this, obviously I'm doing this on this type of machine. You guys, if you want, you can do it differently at home. Another thing I suggest is that when you're doing the inside seams of anything, if you have overlocker, you can use that to finish the edges nicely. Or if you want to, on a normal sewing machine, like a home sewing machine, you can do a zigzag stitch to kind of make sure that it doesn't fray. Okay, so after doing all the edge stitching, what I'm going to do is I'm basically folding it over that 1 centimeter at the bottom, and then from here, after we fold it and fold the whole thing over, another thing I suggest is at this point to also iron it once you fold it over that 1 centimeter edge, because it makes it easier for you to attach the other part of the sleeve instead of fighting with it, which is exactly what I did. Again, do as I say, not as I do. I was making this video in a rush because I have a lot of work to do right now, like uni and everything just started, so I'm trying to do this for you guys, creating content. And yeah, so after you have pinned everything together, you're just going to go over it with the sewing machine and then just doing a stitch to add it together. And this is roughly how it should look like. Now, the next thing you guys are going to do is figure out how far away you want your button to be. So like I pinned it in my own arm, and find a suitable button for it. However you want the button to look like, it's up to you. I'm just going to use these small little buttons. And now for future reference, I was trying to use my home sewing machine to do the buttonhole, and it completely flopped. So after doing this and attaching the button to make the hole on the other side was an absolute nightmare. We did finish the sleeve off, and you guys, I'll help you find out how to make the nice buttonhole without needing a machine, because it was crazy. Unless you guys have a machine that works, that's good on you, but I need to figure out something for myself in the future. But that's like literally how it looks like, and I'm going to show you the results in about a second. So if you guys are ready, come with me and I will show you guys how this turned out, and if you do it yourself, what you expect to see. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. As you can see, the sleeves are very massive and very puffy. I did exaggerate for the sake of the video. I really actually enjoyed the pink and the puffiness. I feel like a little princess. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. If you want, you can subscribe and leave a like and comment down below whatever you want to see next.